And I think we should be live. Hello and welcome everyone to the Gavra Racing GT7 League. You join us for Season 7, round number 10 here at Road Atlanta, the second of 3 American races towards the back end of this championship, where Play Dutchie continues to lead the way in the driver's standings. Piero and Bonneville started to drop off recently, but have picked up the form in the last few races. Let's get into the qualifying session, or say the qualifying session. We've had the qualifying session. Let's go through the starting grid. Before we do that, I'm just going to check to see how my audio is sounding, if we are actually live, and if everything's working. So bear with me for just 2 seconds. And everything, I think, should be good. We're live on my end. I think the audio should be good. So let's go through the qualifying grid for today's race. It'd be great if I actually had it up ready to go through, as prepared as ever. But what I can tell you is that it's Piero who qualified on pole position for this race, the Frenchman putting the McLaren on the front row of the grid, and I can tell you the qualifying time in just 0.2 of a second. Piero setting a 1 minute 17.308. So that was the pole time that Piero was able to set, put him on pole position. Second place, 5 thousandths behind, is Play Dutchie, the current championship leader, the closest pole margin we've had all season, probably in GT history at Gavra Racing. And just behind Dutchie, not too far behind, only 0.2, is Bonneville 99 in the red and white Alfa Romeo, starts in 3rd place. In 4th, Dan Schneider making a return for this race in the BWT Porsche, and just behind him in 5th is Toussaint in the black and green Mercedes. The top 5 separated by 0.2. There were, I think, 4 drivers in the 1 minute 17.5. Just behind Toussaint, Cameron Kaboom in the Japanese Lexus with a 1 minute 17.5 as well. Just about got into the 17.5s. The first of the 17.6s, myself, ex-Natty G in the McLaren, starting in 7th, ahead of Tiger Assassin in 8th. Still keeping the Australian-themed livery, the special that made its debut in Mount Panorama. Starting in 9th place is Tobster, after making his debut last week at Grand Valley. Let's see what he can do from 9th place on the grid, ahead of Abyss in the Monster Nissan GTR. Only, I think, 0.6 off pole position. In 11th place, Wiggly Style with a 1 minute 18, I think. In 11th, ahead of the Scout Dan in 12th. The top 12 separated by only 1 second. A really close qualifying here at Road Atlanta. We're still going down the grid. We've still got more cars. In 13th place is Aston F1, the Season 3 champion in the Ford GT. Starts 13th with his rival Wolfie behind him in 14th place. Let's see what the Irishman can do starting towards the back of the field in that Alfa Romeo. And last but not least, Black Country Mush in his Mercedes AMG starts in 15th place on the apex of the final corner, with 15 cars lined up on today's grid for round number 10 here at Road Atlanta. And it's a track that you look at the track map and you only see one overtaking opportunity, but let's see what these drivers can do tonight. Let's get this race underway. 4.1 kilometers, 42 laps, and I don't know how many corners. 5 red lights, 15 drivers, and it's lights out, and away we go for the second American race of the season here at Road Atlanta. It's a good start from Piero. Bonneville getting the jump on Dutchie, who drops to 3rd. Toussaint looking for a move on the inside of the Dutchman, nearly 3 wide, going in towards the first corner. Dutchie maintains 3rd. Cameron side by side with Dan Schneider. Natty side by side with Tiger. 2 by 2 behind as Piero leads the field away. Dan Schneider going a little bit deep into turn 3, allows Natty to go through round the outside in the Mercedes and the McLaren, as the 2 Porsches tuck into 6th, 7th and 8th. Topster maintaining 9th with Abyss behind him in 10th place. Back up to the front of the field, Piero with a nice lead out in front. The jump on Bonneville, who's got ahead of Play Dutchy, the Porsche getting a slow start off the line, as we've seen do all season, as the drivers single file through the double right-hander at the back end of the circuit before the 1.3 kilometre back straight, the longest straight at the circuit. It's nearly 25% of the track. Only 1 minute 18s is the average lap time at the circuit. Here goes Bon Evil going for a move on Piero. The left-hand side of the circuit becomes the inside for the final chicane. Piero late on the brakes, is going to try and hold it around the outside, makes a little bit of contact with Bon Evil, who goes wide onto the curb, allows Dutchy to go for a little move on the inside. Toussaint round the outside of one of his championship rivals, side by side between the two GT champions. Toussaint's off wide onto the grass, loses a bit of momentum in the run down towards turn one. Bon Evil with a move back down the inside. Has he gone a little bit too deep? Piero trying to switch back to the outside at turn two, becomes the inside for turn three. Uses a lot of curb on the inside, and he's gone deep onto the grass. That's going to lose him momentum as he goes down the hill through the SS section. The grid really close and compact together. Dutchy in second place. Look at this between, well, the second to 10th place, separated by maybe a second or two. Everyone going purple as it's the second lap of the race. 2 by 2, Natty and Dan Schneider, Will to Will, Topster and Tiger side by side going through the first of the two right-handers in the middle sector. Tiger trying to go round the outside, the McLaren on the inside of the Porsche. Topster now capitalising on the wide Brits, who goes, they're still going to go 2 by 2 actually, before tacking into the slipstream train led by Bon Evil at the front of the field, followed by Dutch in second. Piero now down to third after starting on pole. Toussaint maintaining position in fourth place. So we're going to see any moves in the midfield. Tiger down the inside of the McLaren. They're still going to go wheel to wheel on the exit of the penultimate corner, but the green and yellow Porsche gets ahead of the white and black McLaren. And a slightly compromised line could give Topster a chance to move up a position into 8th place. He's going to go for it down the inside here at the first corner on lap 3. Abyss looking interested in the background as well, but the two McLarens go side by side, and then a good move from Topster promotes himself up into 8th place and can hunt down Tiger Assassin in 7th place. We'll be looking to close down the gap to the front runners. As you can see on the minimap in the top right hand corner of the screen, the still really close to each other. Black Country Mush has made his way up into 14th place and will be up to 12th after starting in 14th in that Alfa Romeo. But one Alfa Romeo at the front, one at the back, and a couple of Porsches in the middle. Dutchy in 2nd place, followed by Piero in 3rd. Toussaint maintaining 4th position and might get 3rd after a mistake from Piero. Although I think at this phase of the race, Toussaint's more interested in closing down the gap to the leaders rather than overtaking Piero, working with the pole sitter to close down that gap to Dutchy and Bon Evil up front. Down in midfield, Tiger going slightly defensive from Topster, but pulls back over to the racing line. Abyss in 10th ahead of Aston in 11th, and no moves towards the back end of the field. Bon Evil starts lap 4 of 42 in the lead of the race on the medium compound tyres. I believe all 15 drivers have opted to start this race on the yellow striped medium tyre out of the 3 compounds available for a race weekend. Let's go back up to the front runners now. Play Dutchy kind of leading. Second train, that's the wide Porsche drifting its way off into the gravel trap, down and towards the fast left-hander of turn 5, a really easy corner to overshoot and get wrong, and it's unfortunately resulted in Dan Schneider going from, I think it was about 5th or 6th place, now down to the back of the field in 13th, slots in between the Scout Dan and Black Country Mush. And we'll have to work his way back through the field. It's not a long lap time and there aren't many overtaking opportunities, but if you can get it done, as will be evidently shown throughout the course of the 42 laps of racing action here at this 4.1 kilometre circuit in America. Fastest lap of the race so far, Cameron Kaboom, 1 minute 18.3. Tiger Assassin getting a little bit of a loose exit off the back of the penultimate corner will allow Topster to close down that gap ever so slightly to the car in front. As Aston has got ahead of Abyss somewhere in the last lap. He's now up into 9th place in this race. Black Country Mush has seemingly got actually got ahead of Dan Schneider. Wolfie's made a mistake somewhere on the last lap, 1 minute 31. I believe he went off at the first corner on lap 4, which is why Wolfie's at the back of the pack. But it's a long race, 42 laps, should be about 56 minutes, and with slightly changeable conditions towards the end of the race, it could allow him to work his way back through the field. Dutchy trying to close down that gap to Bonnie, will work his way into the slipstream of the car in front, might opt to start saving a little bit of fuel, as it's become a popular strategy throughout a number of drivers on the grid. As we can see, Aston F1 trying to close down that gap to Abyss. The Ford GT strong in a straight line, it seems, tucked up in the slipstream of the Nissan GTR in front on lap 5 of 42. Is he going to go for it here at the chicane? It's at the back of the Japanese car, and Abyss is off into the circuit. Aston slowed down to let him go through, but it's a car park at the penultimate corner. Wiggly style, Dan Schneider goes through, Black Country Mush goes through on the inside. 6 cars trying to go through the final corner at once, 3 wide through turn 12. Dan Schneider's off onto the grass, and he's made contact with Dan, who's hit Aston, and Dan Schneider's off into the barrier that Gran Turismo advertises, flying across the start-finish straight, just to rub salt in the wounds. Dan Schneider then gets a 5/10 penalty for track limits somewhere out of all of that, but a massive crash in the final corner, which started with a collision between Aston and Abyss, and then the 4 or 5 cars behind then caught up to the back of the 2 drivers involved in carnage at the final chicane. Abyss and the Wiggly style maybe going side by side, but the Swede backs out of the move. But going back up to the front of the pack, it's still Bonnie will lean and play Dutchy, who's got a little bit of a gap to Piero. Cameron de Boon working with Toussaint to try and close down the gap to the front runners. Tiger Assassin just dropping off the back of the front 5 in this race. Topster maybe looking for a move, nearly hits the back of the Porsche, going in towards turn 10 and 11, the final corner of turn 12. As we've got 3 cars fighting for 6th place, 5 of them fighting for the podium positions in the early phases of this race. Lap 7 of 21, a 6th of the way through this race, and I think we've got a car making their way into the pit lane. It's Dan Schneider, who actually started on the soft compound tyre, so apologies, not all drivers started on the mediums. Dan opting for the softs at the start of the race, and that hasn't really worked for him after the earlier mistake at turn 5 and the unfortunate accident at the final corner a couple of laps ago. But the train of cars up in front, including Bonnie, Dutchy, Piero, Toussaint, Cameron, all the cars behind them can start saving fuel to try and have a shorter pit stop time, maybe conserve the tyres as well to go for an attack later on in the race. Topster all over the back of Tiger. Is he going to go for a move in towards turn 10? Not on this occasion. Just going to sit behind the Porsche for now, maybe save tyres, save fuel, before he believes it's the right time to strike the Porsche in front. You can see the gap that started to open up between the Porsche and the Lexus for 5th and 6th place, going through the first corner for the 8th time this race, on board with Topster in the cockpit of the McLaren. Looking at the back of the Porsche, you can see the speed difference between the 2 drivers going through turn 3. Topster really closing onto the back of the Porsche through the right-hander, going through the S's section, and has gone a little bit wide over the curve. Is that going to be a penalty? Are we going to see a move for position? It's no penalty. Topster now to the outside of Tiger through turn 8. Tiger has the inside line for turn 9, which will set Topster up nicely to get a good run on the exit of the corner before the 1.3 kilometre back straight. Nat in the background getting a 5/10 penalty for track limits, as the other McLaren challenging the Porsche for 6th place. They're going to go wheel to wheel, side by side, down the hill into the braking zone of turn 10. Who's going to be later on the brakes? Topster with the inside. A little bit of wheel banging actually between the rear right and the front left of the 2 cars, but Topster with a move down the inside of turn 10. gets the position up into 6th place and can lead the charge to the front 5, who remain in the same order they have been for the last few laps in this race. Led by Born Evil, followed by Dutchy, Piero, Toussaint and Cameron Kaboom in 4th and 5th respectively, as they make their way through the SS section for the 9th time this race. Fastest lap, X-Natty G, 1 minute 18.1. Let's see what the leaders are lapping. 18.7, 18.8, 18.5, 18.3. Really quick, consistently quick lap times from the front runners. And it is a short circuit, so the lap times will be fairly close. It's going to be difficult to extract the maximum out of the cars at their circuit. Not much room for error, perhaps. It's not like Spa or Songkhwa where they're longer lap times, and there's a bigger differential between one lap and another. Born Evil might be under pressure from Blade Dutchy, who moves over to the left-hand side of the circuit. Isn't quite close enough though to go for a lunge up the inside. Nor Piero or Toussaint, so maybe just saving a little bit of fuel behind. You can see Dutchy's got a lot more fuel than the cars around him. Just about to start lap 10 or 42. The longest race on the calendar in terms of lap times. Look at the train that's formed behind. We've got almost 3 trains in this race. 1 to 5, 6 to 8, and then 9, 10, 11, 12. What's happening here again? Here at the final chicane. Darren Schneider on the inside of Ridley Style makes a little bit of contact as the Super gets a little bit out of shape on exit. Dan runs a little bit wide, putting 2 wheels on the gravel. Aston's got ahead of Black Country Mush up into 12th place. But these guys are not particularly a fan of that final corner. It seems to be a chicane of chaos in this race, as Natty's caught up to the back of Tiger and Topster after serving a 5/10 penalty, of which another one's been given to Topster, his first of the race. Really easy to pick up track limits at that corner, turn 5. Fast flowing left-hander, really easy to take too much speed on entry, and the car just washes wide over the white line on the exit, and it's a slam dunk, 5/10 penalty. Up front, Born Evil still in the lead of this race, defending from Dutchy, who I believe is more than comfortable just to sit behind for now. Natty trying to start an attack on time. It's good. Jobster trying to send one down the inside of Natty in this amazing battle for 6th place. Meanwhile, the drivers nearly 3 wide. Aston and Dan, Black Country Mush in the battle for 11th place in the background. Aston in front of the 2 cars behind. Black Country Mush on the inside of the Scout. Dan going side by side, and a good move from Black Country Mush puts the Mercedes ahead of the Nissan up into 12th place. Overtakes happening all over the field at different parts of the circuit. It looked like a little bit of a wobble from Born Evil, who could be starting to struggle with tyre wear and degradation on lap 11. The pit window for the 2-stop is lap 11 to... No, that's not 11. Lap 15 to 20, I believe, is probably the pit window for a 2-stop, whether you go mediums or softs for the second stint. And what tyres you use. There's a 5/10 penalty for someone. It's Piero, who will slow down at the penalty gate and will concede a position to Toussaint. Tucks in behind the Mercedes as he concede a position to Cameron Kaboom. This could be interesting to see if the Lexus can go through. Not on this occasion. Natty and Tiger side by side as they trade paint on the downhill part of the circuit before the braking zone. A little bit of contact made. Natty trying to go round the outside of Tiger. Topster trying to look for a move on the inside, nearly making it 3 wide going into the final corner at turn 12. Tiger with the inside line, makes the move done, keeps 6th place in this race, although Natty's got a really good exit from the final corner, pulls over to the right hand side of the circuit, now the left hand side of the screen, goes for a move down the inside of Tiger, in towards turn 1. Topster might try and follow him through, and Tiger's going to lose 2 positions in one corner from 6th to 8th in a blink of an eye. Topster may have gone over, taken a little bit too much curve, it just cost him a little bit of time, but he's able to keep the position of 7th place in this race. Meanwhile up front, no positions changing as of yet. Pierre dropped to 4th after serving a penalty. What's happening behind these guys as well? Aston trying to get the move done on Wiggly Style, with Black Country Mush keeping up to the back of the 4GT, and the Scout Down has just dropped off the back of the Mercedes, maybe a second and a half of Black Country Mush. Maybe starting to struggle with the tyre wear to that front left. Any change of positions for the lead of the race. Dutchy stays behind Bon Evil for another lap. Lap 12 of 42. Toussaint keeping up with the front three. This is a good showing from Toussaint in that Mercedes after a poor result last week at Grand Valley. If you haven't seen that race, I'd highly recommend you go and check it out. If you haven't seen any of the races this season, or you've missed one or two, then you can watch them all on the Twitch channel. If you are a subscriber, if you're not, you can watch them all on our YouTube channel. But yeah, spoiler alert, this is good showing from Toussaint after finishing 10th in Grand Valley. His worst result of the season, and possibly his worst results ever in Gavra Racing GT history. That Mercedes just not clicking for him at that circuit. Although, a popular comment, you can sum it up with two words, those two words being skill issue. But we won't get into that debate. We could see a change for the lead of the race here on lap 13. Dutchy's a lot closer to Bon Evil than he has been in the last few laps. Is he going to stay behind? Does he pull over to the left? He just lifts off, backs out of the move. I think he's saving a lot of fuel in the opening phases of this race to have a shorter pit stop later on. Natty's doing enough to keep Topstra at bay, but that McLaren could also be saving fuel behind the Brit in front, as the leaders start lap 14 of 42. Wiggly Style in 10th place, still ahead of Aston in 11th. Aston only 2 points behind Black Country Mush, who's in 12th place. If it were to finish as it is, there would only be a 1 point difference between the two drivers. Summons into the pits, it's Wiggly Star in the Toyota Supra. We're getting a beautiful camera shot of the barrier that splits the start-finish straight from the pit lane as Wiggly pulls into the pit lane. Black Country Mush all over the back of Aston, but Topster all over the back of Natty. Meanwhile up front, Dutchy pressurising Bon Evil into a mistake, nearly pushing the Brit through turn 9. Let's ride on board with the Porsche in cockpit cam to see whether or not Dutchy can find a way past the Alfa Romeo. One car that's quick in a straight line, the other not so much. But he's definitely saving fuel, only doing 155 miles per hour at this stage of the race. You see how early he backs off the throttle to try and save some fuel. Meanwhile, let's look behind because we've got an overtake happening with Topster on the inside of outside of Natty. Tiger looking to try and make it 3 wide. Flash late on the brakes from Natty. Can he slow it down in time? No, he can't. Gets a little bit of air going across the gravel trap down at the penultimate corner and lose 2 positions to Topster and Tiger, and about 2.5 seconds in the process as well. Braking a little bit too late, a little bit too ambitiously, going in towards the penultimate corner. Meanwhile, Aston promoted to 10th place after Wiggly made his pit stop. A little bit of a slide on the exit of the final corner after taking a little bit too much curb. I ran over my controller charger in my chair. That's not great. As hello, Black Country Mush could be going for a move on the outside of Aston. Not on this occasion. 4GT seems really unstable on those worn medium tyres. You can see it nearly drifting its way through the left-hander of turn 4. The rear tyres have shot, or especially the left-hand side tyres that do take quite a punishment in this race. Back up to the leaders. Is Dutchy going to go for a move on lap 15, or is he going to work with his teammate? Pulls over to the left-hand side of the circuit. Bon Evil with nearly a puncture to the rear left-hand tyre. In fact, probably has got a puncture and will probably be into the pits. There's a massive tank slapper on the exit of the final corner. Indeed, Bon Evil pulls into the pit lane at the end of lap 15, promotes Dutchy up into the lead of the race, and Pierre back onto the podium. Perhaps a forced pit stop from Bon Evil with the excessive tyre wear in the Alfa Romeo, but also triggering the undercut. Look how much fuel Cameron Kaboom has saved, sitting behind Toussaint and Piero compared to Bon Evil leading the field out front. 43% compared to 53. That's worth a couple of seconds at least in the pit stop phase. But Natty still with the fastest lap of the race, 18.1. Where's Bon Evil filtered out? He's filtered out right behind Black Country Mush and Aston. in a heap of traffic, and it's a track that's really difficult to overtake in the first sector. Bonneville's not going to have any of it though, as he falls his Black Country Mush nearly off the track, as he's putting the foot down in this race to try and not lose. Well, he's trying to make the undercut work for him onto a set of medium compound tyres. Cameron Kaboom picks up a 3-second time penalty for crossing the white line, but it was a move that Bonneville had to make on Black Country Mush. Let's go back up to the leaders. Play Dutchy leading the field. Is he going to be into the pits? Play Dutchy diving it into the pit lane. Piero follows him in, although Piero I think has gone onto the white line, and that's going to cost him. Oh, Dutchy's crashed in the pit lane. Dutchy's off. He's hit the barrier on the outside of the pit lane. That's lost him the position to Piero. Didn't get any damage. Let's watch that one more time. Prime time viewing. Let's get the onboard chase cam view of Dutchy going into the pit lane. Too much speed, hits the barrier on the right hand side into reverse, and that is going to make the bloopers of the season. Play Dutchy crashing in the pit lane. What does it say on the back of his car? I didn't quite read it. But that is, well, I mean, lost for words really. It's quite funny as well. Play Dutchy conceding the position to Piero in the pits, and he's also saved a lot more fuel than the cars around him. Natty with the most fuel actually. That's the fuel going into the tank, so 54 litres for the Porsche and the McLaren. They're actually going to filter out into the track side by side, Piero and Dutchy. Piero with the jump on the Porsche after Dutchy making the mistake in the pit lane, but an even bigger mistake perhaps. Piero getting a 3-second penalty for going over the white line. Natty's actually jumped Tiger in the pit lane. He's also gathered a 3-second penalty for going over the white line. Aston's in and out of the pits on a set of soft compound tyres. Another driver to pick up a 3-second time penalty. Probably the easiest penalty to pick up at this track, and probably the easiest penalty to get all season. Toussaint stays out for another lap, extending his stint on the medium compound tyres. Thompson's going to follow him round the final corner with superior tyre conservation compared to the drivers around him. I mean, that's the difference between the top two. If you pay attention to the bottom left, Thompson really working with the front left, really saving that front left tyre that takes the punishing at this circuit. Bonneville in third place, ahead of Dutchy, but with less fuel in the car, and on a set of medium compound tyres. Dutchy also going on to mediums, Piero opting for the softs. Cameron Kaboom going for another set of medium compound tyres as well. So we've got diverse different strategies in play at this race. Some drivers going for the soft tyres in the middle stint, some going on to the mediums. Now depending on how they play this stint, whether they push conserve or slightly neutral, depends on whether they could go for the final stint on softs, or for those who are on the softs, could they go to a set of softs, or do they have to go to mediums for the final stint in this race? It is probably going to play out to be a two-stop strategy, the main tyres being the mediums and the softs, whether it's a medium soft or a medium soft. We'll have to wait and see. Thompson stays out as Toussaint, the reigning champion, dives into the pits for a change of tyres. I think Toussaint goes for the soft strategy, extending his stint on the mediums. Thompson could be going on for a one-stop here, maybe opting to use the hard compound tyre, which hasn't been used often this season. I think it's been used once or twice, perhaps, from a couple of drivers. But we'll just have to wait and see how this stint plays out. Thompson setting a 19.3, 19.6 and 19.6 in his last 3 laps. Dutchy though on fresh medium, 1 second quicker than the race leader. But if Thompson's staying out for a one-stop, he could save himself, I don't know how long the pit lane lost time is, maybe 25 seconds. If he does the one-stop, we'll have to wait and see. Toussaint with a 21.4, although it's just made a pit stop actually. Pierre with an 18.0, Natty 17.7 on the set of soft compound tyres, and has the fastest lap of the race so far. So that's just the difference between fresh softs, fresh mediums and worn mediums at a track that is technical in the first sector, isn't particularly long, only 4 kilometres. But just goes to show the grip advantage between the two different tyre compounds, the softs and the mediums. Wolfie in 14th place behind Natty on circuit, is a lap down. Has made a couple of mistakes this race, which is quite rare from the Irishman. Didn't quite get into the groove with Grand Valley, and it appears the second American race is a similar story for him. Maybe just not in the groove with the American circuits. Unfortunately for him, we go to one more next week at Laguna Seca for the final triple header in America, before going almost to the other side of the world for the final two races in Japan, Suzuka and Fuji, to round out the championship. And how quickly the season has flown by. We're nearly at the final three. In fact, we are actually at the final three races after this one: Laguna Seca, Suzuka and Fuji. Tops in the chat saying, to be fast and harsh and to overdrive the car, not worth the risk. And it is better to be safe than sorry. The hard compound tyres really aren't an option on, or considered to be an option in the strategy of many drivers, unless the tyre wear is particularly high, like we saw at a couple of tracks last season, Interlagos being one of them, where the soft tyres only really lasted 5 or 6 laps. And I think to make the hard compound tyres work, you need a long, I'd say the 24-hour Spa layout is probably, or Monza and Spa, maybe the best two circuits to go to use the hards. And the reason being is Spa has a long pit lane and it's a long lap time, so there may only be 20 odd laps to make up the hour. So you could make that work, and Monza, not a very technical circuit, and tucking behind the slipstream of the car in front. But then if you're doing that, the hard compound tyres aren't really worth it. Tobster could be on the hard compound tyres actually, considering he's done 21 laps on a set of medium compound tyres. He's done 50% of the race distance on those mediums, and still setting consistent quick lap times in below minute 19s. I mean, 5 of the lap times have been set in either a 19.3 or a 19.6 before finally darting into the pit lane for, I think, a comfortable 2-stop onto a set of soft compound tyres. Bonnie will take the lead of the race, which he owned before making the pit stops, and you can see the margin he has to Dutchy behind after he made his mistake going into the pit. And to be fair to Piero, despite collecting a 3-second time penalty, he has caught up and maintained a close distance to G7 and Playduchy in front. 1 minute 49 on lap 17 compared to Toussaint's 1 minute 45, so 4 seconds slower than Toussaint as a result of the 3-second time penalty, and he's made the time back up in 2 or 3 laps. Incredible pace from Piero after winning the American Grand Prix last week in Grand Valley. He's on a charge to win another one here at Road Atlanta. Also noting Piero going purple, Toussaint going purple to the first sector, as Natty is starting to catch up to the back of Cameron Capoon because he's early off the mediums. I believe it was at the end of lap 15, and it's gone on to another set of medium compound tyres. So we'll keep an eye on that battle, but for now we're going to have a look at the battle for second place. 3 drivers fighting for 2 spots on the podium, and that's interesting. Bonnie was dived into the pit lane after doing 7 laps on a set of medium compound tyres. And after starting on the mediums, the rules state that you have to use 2 different tyre compounds. Toussaint's going to go for it around the outside at turn 2, the inside for turn 3, makes a little bit of contact with the rear right of Playduchy's Porsche and keeps second place and behind Playduchy for now. But a bold attempt at an overtake didn't quite pay off. But like I was saying, the rules are that you have to use 2 different tyre compounds. Bonnie was gone from medium to medium. Let's see what tyre he's gone on to. It's a set of the soft compound tyres. And well, Topster took mediums 21 laps, the longest of anyone. It's definitely got a 3-stop strategy from Boneville. Not sure what the plan was there. Maybe underfueled, maybe selected the wrong tyre in the pit stop. But a potential strategic error might see him not win this race or finish on the podium, which is currently being decided by these two drivers, Toussaint and Dutchy, side by side through turn 10. Toussaint with the inside, late on the brakes, keeps it within the white lines and takes the lead of the race. Dutchy's going to try and fight this one back to the inside at turn 11, to the inside for turn 12. Not quite close enough to the back of the Mercedes to go for a move. Meanwhile, Gavra in 4th place, still ahead of Natty in 5th. Tobster in 6th, but on a fresh set of medium compound tyres, the freshest of anyone in the top 8. Of course, Boneville's just made his pit stop for softs and has picked up a 1-second time penalty. Abyss and Dan now going side by side. The two Nissan GTRs wheel to wheel in towards the first corner. Abyss with the inside line makes the move stick up into 10th place. Will score an extra point if he can keep it. 2 points for 10th place. Piero getting an extra point for the fastest lap. If anyone can beat it by the end, then they will be the one who picks up the extra point. But as you can see, the sun is starting to set in the background of the screen, over the hill in the background. As Toussaint will begin lap 25 of 42 in the lead of this race, ahead of Piero in 2nd and Dutchy in 3rd. Slow down to serve a half-second penalty. I think he got that at turn 5. Cameron Caboon pulls over to the right-hand side of the track to defend from Natty, who goes swooping around the outside, down at the first corner. Cameron's got a little bit deep though. He's off the gravel, off the track, in the grass and in the barrier, down towards the exit of turn 1. Engine damage, bumper and suspension damage for the Lexus. Tobster goes through, and I think Tiger's going to go through as well as the Brit makes his way through turn 2 and the right-hander of turn 3. The Porsche gaining at a rapid rate of knots in the back of the Lexus, which struggles for speed but nowhere to go. Tiger nearly onto the grass. Cameron pulls over to the right, lets Tiger go through, and in 30 seconds after the damage was caused, it will be repaired. There you have it. But 15 seconds lost through the first sector alone for Cameron Caboon. That has already ruined his chances of a top 5 finish in this race. He was running in 4th place before the accident. Maybe it was a gust of wind. There is a tailwind going in towards turn 1, so that is a possibility. 17.9 for Dutchy on the last lap. 3/10 quicker than Natty. Tobster and Natty near setting identical lap times. Tiger as well. You can see how close and consistent this field is. If we just look at the last lap times, not the last one from Tiger because he had to overtake Cameron Caboon, but 19.1, never mind. 18.2, 18.1, 17.9, 18.1, 18.1. That's how this is so close between the top 5 setting quick, competitive, consecutive lap times, lap after lap. Yes, it's a short circuit, only 4.1 kilometres, only 12 corners, 2 of which, well technically there's 13 corners, but on the official Road Atlanta website, there is a turn 10A and a turn 10B, which the leaders are approaching now as Dan is into the pits. The left-hander, turn 10, for the right-hander is turn 10B, believe it or not. And then I believe there's a little kink here, which is turn 11, and the final corner, turn 12. Don't know why, but I found that out this afternoon when I looked up the track map for to do the stream. And also, for some reason, the S's aren't a corner. Well, they are a corner. They're called the S's. There's turn 1, there's turn 2, there's turn 3. This is turn 4, and then you think, oh, this right hand is turn 5. Nope, it's called the S's, which you think is 5, 6, 7, this should be turn 8, but it's actually turn 5. Don't ask me why, but that's what the official Road Atlanta website says on its track map of Road Atlanta. Hello and welcome to everyone who is tuning in to this race so far, whether you're watching it live or not. Hope everyone's having a great day or night, depending on when and where you're watching this. But if you missed the start of the race, Pierre Relais started on pole position but lost the lead to Bonneval, mistaking the strategy for the Brits has seen him drop down into 9th place. Pierre with a 3-second time penalty for crossing the white line going into the pit lane, dropped him behind Play Dutchy, and the Dutchman also consequently crashed going into the pit lane, which has resulted in Toussaint leading the American Grand Prix after finishing 10th last week in Grand Valley Highway. Also something to note is that Natty and Topstill were 8th and 9th on like lap 3 or 4, now running in 4th and 5th place. A great recovery drive from the pair of them, who are gaining on the leaders. Obviously, having been in the race myself and doing the commentary later, I can tell you that I think when I made my pit stop I was 12 seconds behind the leaders. Roughly at this phase of the race, the gap is 5 or 6 seconds between myself and Play Dutchy. For those who are new to the stream, I am Marcus Armstrong. Well, that's not my name, but I am Marcus Armstrong. But I'm not, but that's me. I refer to myself in the third person, just because it feels more natural to do the stream that way. I don't really want to say I'm going down the inside or someone's going down the inside of me. It doesn't really feel right doing that on stream. I don't know. Maybe I'll do a stream where I do refer to myself in the first person, and I'll watch it back and compare the two and see which one sounds nicer, which one flows better. But just for the flow of it, I'm going to pretend that I'm not me and go with that. Tiger's actually lost touches with the back of Topster. The three were close to each other at the start of this race, but you can see Tiger setting 1 minute 19s on the medium compound size, cars in front in the low minute 17s on the softs, which just shows the difference in tyres between the softs and the mediums, even at a fast flowing, not so technical short track as Road Atlanta. Scout down, picking up a 1 second tyre penalty, sat behind Play Dutchy. At 29 to 42, we're approaching the pit window off of the softs or mediums to go on to another set of the soft tyres to finish this 42 lap race. But as you can see on the mini-map, quite a few drivers are starting to spread out. Piero dives into the pit lane, pulling the trigger for the undercut. Someone else is also into the pits, the two McLarens, diving into the pit lane to get off of a set of soft compound tyres and finish this race on the soft. Promotes Topster up into 3rd place, now running in the podium position, setting consecutive, look at those lap times, 17.9, 17.8. Topster, I think, is the fastest driver out on the circuit at the minute. Quicker than Dutchy, quicker than Toussaint, a second quicker than the race leader. Just goes to show that his medium stint has really helped him come back into this race. Was running in 8th place on lap 3, and for staying out on those mediums, for serving those mediums early on, staying out for I think it was 4 or 5 extra laps, can now use the advantage of those fresh, soft compound tyres, much fresher tyres compared to the cars in front. Look at the difference between him and the race leader, allowing Thompson to push with fresh tyres, low fuel, and gain time on the race leaders. Natty's come out of the pits ahead of Abyss, that's good for him. Piero's come out in clean air, no one in front or behind for him to worry about. So let's keep an eye on the Frenchman. Toussaint is into the pits. off of those soft compound tyres. Is he going to keep the lead of the race? When he exits the pit lane, we'll have to wait and see. Cameron Caboon could be looking for a move on Tiger Assassin, although goes into the pits and goes over the orange line. So unfortunately, that is a 3-second time penalty coming the way of Mr. Cameron Caboon. Two Saints leaving the pit lane now. Here goes Piero down the start-finish straight. This could be close between the two. Two Saints being released through the right-hander top. Piero's going through turn 1. And Two Saint keeps the lead of the race. Although it does take a lap or two for the soft compound tyres to get up to temperature. So this could be fairly close come the end of lap 32. As Piero with warmer soft compound tyres now needs to try push on this lap to get the gap within a second. 8 tenths at least against Two Saints fresh soft compound tyres. Born Evil now running in 3rd place, but will need to make another pit stop, as will Tiger Assassin, who's only used one set of tyre compound. Play Dutchie makes it into the pit lane this time without hitting the wall on the in or outside. I didn't actually see what it says, but I see the word please and left, and I think behind as well. So we'll see what it says in the back of Play Dutchie's car. Apologies if it's rude. I wouldn't put it past it. This is a family-friendly stream, so just, you know, yeah. It shouldn't be rude. It is actually in one of the rules. I believe it's Article 18 or 19 for driver deliveries to be respectful and clean without any inappropriate decals, words or phrases. This could be close. Two Saint and Dutchie side by side on the track as they leave the pit lane, but Two Saint with the momentum from turn 1 is ahead and in the lead of the race. Dutchie splitting the pair in between Two Saint and Piero. What does it say in the back of this car? I'm curious. Please use your brake with the left pedal. I'm going to change that to please use the brake to the back of my we don't want to see any accidents with anyone ramming the back of Play Dutchie, although it does make the stream quite entertaining when there is a crash. But you know, Dutchie's friendly reminder to, in this case, Piero behind, to use the left pedal when approaching the braking zone as opposed to the right one. As we ride on board with the Frenchman in question, he will be looking at the back of that Porsche, reading the message, making sure he's got his foot on the brake going in towards turn 10. And Born Evil now into the pits. Does he crash in the pit lane? No, he doesn't. Nice and clean to do the fight. Oh, he's invisible. He's got some hacks. I knew it. I knew he had grip hacks in that Alfa Romeo. That is a side effect of grip hacks. Your car goes invisible going into the pit lane. Therefore, Born Evil will unfortunately be disqualified from the championship, and all his points will go to me, as under Article 25.7. Which is definitely a rule. Anyone who's disqualified from the championship, their points go to the league admin. Definitely have not made that up on the spot. It's in white font on the rulebook, just on the last page. Let's ignore the rulebook and all that. Who should we look at? Let's have a look at the midfield actually. Wiggly Style has had an interesting race actually. Quite a quiet one in the midfield. Hasn't been involved in much action recently. Oh, is there a change for position? Indeed there is. Dutchie going from over on the outside of Two Saint, going in towards turn 10. The Brit trying to keep his bumper on the inside, becomes the outside for the penultimate corner, but Dutchie now takes the lead of the race. Pierre now side by side with the Mercedes going through the fast swooping right-hander of the final corner. Two Saint going from first to third in 3 corners on lap 34 of 42. Dutchie now leads its race and the front 3 cannot be separated. Perhaps maybe the most 3 successful drivers in recent seasons and recent races. Piero with a couple of wins and a long streak of second places, especially from this season. Dutchie with 4 championships. Two Saint with the other 2. The only 2 drivers to win the Drivers' Championship in the 6 seasons this GT League has been run. who would be the first to be crowned a new champion? Would it happen this season? Piero and Bon Evil are the two contenders for that, running in second and third place respectively. Here comes Piero, here comes Toussaint, down the hill as the sun begins to set, the headlights are on, they're nearly through wide, going in towards turn 10, Dutchy's way too late on the brakes, he's gone off into the gravel, similarly to Natty on lap 14, and he's off. Piero now takes the lead of the race, crumbled under the pressure that Piero and Toussaint was applying behind, and now Natty's in attacking range for a possible podium. Here at Road Atlanta, and Topsy's coming along with him, going through the first corner on those fresh soft compound tyres. That's the fastest lap of the race, so 17.5. And if I'm not mistaken, that would have put Topster in third place, I think, in qualifying. After starting in 9th place, he's worked his way through the field, he's mastered the strategy. Natty having a look for a move down the inside of Play Dutchy, going in towards turn 8, in towards the right-hander of turn 9. Let's ride on board. Actually, no, let's have a look at the cars in all their glory as the sun begins to set behind the trees and the floodlights and the headlights begin to light up the track. Up front, Toussaint just tucking in behind Piero for now, not close enough to go for a move. What about Natty on the back of Play Dutchy, going in towards the final chicane? Not close enough on this lap. Has Natty got enough pace in that McLaren to work his way past the championship leader? Stanley definitely has enough pace, especially in a straight line. Bon Evil down the back straight, going over to the left hand side of the circuit. There's not a lot of room, but he's found enough to try and to sneak his way through up into 8th place, down the inside, ahead of Wiggly Star, and can now try to recover as many points as he can. Currently in 8th place. I believe that's 8 points. I could be wrong. I probably am. I definitely am. I think it's 4 or 6. I think it's 1, 2. It's 4 or 6, but I can't remember. Meanwhile, up front, it looks like Dutchy has just got a little bit of a margin to Natty behind. Someone who doesn't have the margin is Piero, because not only is Toussaint gaining on him down the back straight, Piero has to slow down for half a second to serve a time penalty. So Toussaint now takes the lead of the race with only 7 laps to go. 6 when they cross the start-finish line. And we started this race with 15 drivers. We're now down to 12. As we now enter the 9th phase of this race for the final 7 minutes. 48 minutes into this race, and Toussaint is leading out in front. Piero in second, Dutchy in third, Natty in fourth, with Topster gaining and closing the gap in fifth. Tiger in sixth, Cameron Gaboom in seventh, under pressure from Bon Evil in 8th place. I'm going to keep an eye on this battle, because we might have another change of position going in towards turn 1. Bon Evil gaining, Cameron Gaboom is indicating left for the right-hander, but probably indicating to Bon Evil he's not going to fight that position. And Bonnie on the fresh soft compound tyres moves up into 7th. Now Cameron down to 8th, Wiggly in 9th, Abyss in 10th, Aston in 11th, ahead of his championship rival Black Country Mush in 12th place, and just out of the points, having set an 18.1 on the last lap, which isn't a bad lap time for Black Country Mush, considering the fastest lap is now a 17.0 from Cameron Gaboom. So that's what he can do on low fuel. And I think he had clean air, because he was ahead of Bon Evil when he set that lap time. So low fuel, fresh softs, and a low 17 is possible. Maybe we might see someone dip into the 16s if anyone decides to pit for a late dash attempt at the fastest lap of the race. Speaking of lap times, let's have a look. Toussaint 18.0, 18.1, 17.6 for Dutchy, 17.8 for Natty, but at 17.3 for Topster. He's a man on a mission to try and finish ahead of Natty, maybe even Dutchy, and finish on the podium. For those long viewers of Gavra Racing who may remember a particular Premier Series race at Interlagos on F1 2021 about a year ago, where Nati could win the Constructors' Championship for the first time in his career for Ferrari, before a German decided to get the game on the same day, slam it on pole position. I believe he won the race, but finished ahead of Nati, which cost him the Constructors' Championship for himself and Thunder 50/50 all those years ago, and now is possibly trying to return the favour. But you can see how close the front five are now together. Not much separating Topster and Toussaint from 5th to 1st. But the next overtake for Topster could be a personal one, because it's Nati in front of him, Duchy, Piero and Toussaint going through turn 1 now. You can see on the mini-map the front five relatively close to one another after 39 laps of racing. This is what it's gone down to. The battle for even the lead of the race, I'd say, between the top 5 drivers. Very rarely have we seen this many drivers fighting for the lead after 50 laps of racing. You can see the sun is pretty much fully set in the background. The night sky shining above the circuit, the headlights lighting up the circuit. Now we can see these beautiful cars and the beautiful custom-made liveries under the floodlights of Road Atlanta. It's not quite the same atmosphere as Daytona from last season, but it gives off the same sort of vibe, and I do think this game looks absolutely beautiful in the night conditions. A flash of the headlights for one of the cars behind, I'm not too sure who exactly that was. Play Dutchy going for a move on Piero as Topster goes for a move on Nati. 2 by 2, side by side. Piero on the inside of Dutchy. Dutchy trying to work his way around the outside as the brake disc illuminates under the night sky. Topster with the move done on Nati to the outside, but they're still going to go side by side down the hill to the right hander of the final corner. Nati maintains 4th position as Dutchy gets up into 2nd and hunts down Toussaint for the final 3 laps in this race. I heard a few comments going into this race saying you can't overtake at Road Atlanta. There's only one overtaking opportunity, and that's down at turn 10, which has been proved wrong by a number of these drivers going in throughout the course of this race. Can Toussaint hold on to the lead in this race? About 2 seconds between him and Clay Dutchy, maybe 2.5. Piero in 3rd is going to try and keep a position, but look who's gaining. Nati and Topster are now in the fight for the front 3, and the podium is still to be undecided. Dutchy flashing his headlights to try and put Toussaint off, going down the back straight. Here comes Topster going for a move on Nati. Does he go left or right? It's the left hand of the track, right hand of the screen. The 2 McLarens now side by side going down the hill for the 40th time this race. Topster gets the move done up into 4th place. Nati demoted to 5th place. The 2 McLarens, or 3 McLarens, running 3rd, 4th and 5th. Looks like Nati's got a good run off the final corner. Topster goes defensive to the inside. They're going to go side by side in towards turn 1. Nati's going to try and scoop it around the outside, cut it back for the inside for turn 2. The outside now for turn 2, sorry. The inside for turn 3, but isn't quite close enough to go for a move. Topster's gone wide. Nati's also gone deep. A slight mistake from Topster. It is Nati's well trying to go for a move around the outside. Now through the SS section they go. I think Cameron Kaboom's just got ahead of Bon Evil here on lap 7. As I'm not sure what's happened to Bonnie, but maybe made a mistake somewhere. But just going to quickly look back up to the battle for the leaders. What about Play Dutchy? Where's his progress on Toussaint? You can see the Brit making his way through the fast right. It's fast, that's definitely not fast. The final right hander of turn 9. With Dutchy not too far behind. Behind them, Nati and Topster fighting to see who's going to finish in 4th place. Can Nati take 4th place off of Topster, like Topster took the Constructors off Nati all those years ago? A fun rivalry that's not been a common one in the past few seasons. Nati on the outside, Topster with the inside line. Can Nati hold it for the inside for turn 10B? They're still going to go side by side through the final corner with 1 lap to go. A little bit of contact, door banging between the 2. Nati with the inside line gets the move done up into 4th place as the drivers start the final lap of the race. Can Toussaint keep the lead of this one, with Clay Dutchy closing him down every step of the way? going through the first corner for the final time in this race. Natty in fourth, but he's taken a lot of curb. He's onto the grass. He's lost a little bit of time. Here comes Topster round the outside, and he's through up into fourth place. They're still going to go side by side through the S's section. Topster now through the fast right-hander of turn 5, but he's gone wide. He's on the gravel, and he's round. He's in the grass, and he's in the wall. Damage to the suspension and the aero. Natty goes through up into fourth place. Piero in third. Dutchy in fourth, second place, flashing his lights to try and put Toussaint off. This is going to be a really close finish in this race after 42 laps of racing. Toussaint's front left is absolutely knackered compared to Dutchy on the fresher, fresher soft compound tyres. Only a couple of corners to go. Can Toussaint hold this one? I think he's going to do it. Dutchy's a little bit wobbly through turn 11. But after finishing 10th in Road at Grand Valley, it's redemption for Toussaint, who wins at Road Atlanta. Dutchy are less than a 10th behind. Piero in third place takes the final step on the podium after starting on pole position. Natty finishes the race backwards across the line, and Topster, after making a mistake at turn 5, who finished in 5th place. But a great drive from him after starting in 9th, finishes in 5th. Tiger Assassin as well, started I think in 8th place and finishes in 6th, so positions gained from qualifying. Cameron in 7th, a good recovery after a mistake at turn 1. Bonnie in 8th after a mistake in the strategy, and I think a mistake on lap 38. Wiggly Style finishes in 9th, just behind 3rd place driver in the championship. Biss will finish in 10th place after wrecking the front left tyre and has actually ran out of fuel as well, across the line in 10th. Aston will finish in 11th place in the Golf 4 GT and scores the final points on offer today. Rounds the final corner for the final time with a rear left puncture, and here goes Black Country Mush to finish in 10th place. And what a race, absolutely amazing. Maybe a contender for one of the best races of the season. Lots of action throughout and a lot to go through. But let's go through the grid as we always do. From bottom to top, Black Country Mush in 12th place, Aston in 11th, behind Abyss in 10th, Wiggly Star in 9th, Bonneville in 8th place, behind Cameron Kaboom in 7th, Tiger in 6th, Topster in 5th, Nat in 4th, and your podium, Piero in 3rd, Dutchy in 2nd, and the race winner, Toussaint, after starting in 3rd place and finishing 10th last week in Grand Valley. Let's try and actually get the car under the floodlights. There we go. And here is your race winner from round 10 at Road Atlanta. There, should we go? Oh, which side? Let's go a little bit forward. But yeah, what an amazing race. Really enjoyed that one. And Road Atlanta making its Gran Turismo debut after being added to the game a couple of months ago. Not a couple of months ago. Oh my God, we're in June. When was this track added? It might have been January or... No, I think November this track was added. And it's definitely proven itself worthy as a contender for great racing. And here is your race winner. Toussaint, I think, wins his first race of the season on track. Oh no, I don't like that with the lights. There we go. Let's go maybe for that angle. It's difficult to get good photos in the nights, but I think we've got a nice one here of your race winner. It's not a Porsche this time, it's a Mercedes AMG, and that helps Toussaint's fight. Close down the gap to Piero and Bonneville and extend his advantage over myself. Overall good points in the championship for a number of drivers. Dutchy finishing ahead of all of his rivals, primarily Bonneville and Piero. Topster with a solid result in 5th place. Maybe he might join us full time next season. Topster in the chat, I noticed he said suffering from a slight severity of skill issue earlier. Topster also saying Forza Inter, this is being streamed before the Champions League final, and if I had a face cam you'd see I am wearing my Inter Milan away kit that I purchased at the start of the season, because we all want Inter Milan to win, unless of course you're a Man City fan. Wow, that's really taken this race has really taken a toll on my throat. So should have had a drink during the race actually. As opposed to the end, that doesn't really make much sense. But thank you everyone for watching. Join us next week for the final American race of the season at Laguna Seca, where I don't think the championship leader will be attending. So points up for grabs in that one. Make sure to like and subscribe. It would be fully appreciated. And I will leave you with a closing dong. Goodbye everyone. See you next week.